Sometime in 1895, Harry D. Smith was born in Goshen, Virginia, one of 6 children born to John D. Smith and his wife, who sadly passed away when Harry was still quite young. Soon after his mother's death, his father John moved the family to San Francisco, California, and it was here that Harry grew up. He graduated from the Menlo Seminary in 1917 and was preparing for a life in the priesthood when America entered the First World War. Harry didn't waste any time signing up. In fact, he joined the Army before the draft even started. Private First Class Smith was selected for the Army Air Corps and spent 22 months in France with the 1st Aero Squadron. He rose to the rank of First Lieutenant and gained a reputation as a skilled and fearless test pilot. But what Lieutenant Smith wanted most was just out of reach. He was eager to get into a fight over the German lines, but the closest Smith ever got was ferrying replacement planes from the Air Service Depot to the frontline aerodromes. After the war ended, the 1st Aero Squadron moved to Koblenz as part of the Army of Occupation, and it wasn't until August 14th of 1919 that Lieutenant Smith boarded the USS P.F. Wilhelm in Brest, France, and sailed for home, arriving in Hoboken, New Jersey on August 23rd. Lieutenant Smith was shipped straight to Kelly Field in San Antonio, Texas, and assigned to the 27th Aero Squadron as a flight commander. It was here at Kelly Field that aircraft from all over the world were being flown and evaluated to understand their strengths and weaknesses in future combat scenarios. And mock dogfights were a common sight in the skies above the airfield. On February 10, 1920, Lieutenant Smith took to the air in a captured Fokker triplane and was soon joined by Sergeant A.J. Nassimer in a British SE-5. The two aviators began dogfighting, Smith leading the way while Nassimer did his best to stay on his tail. For a time the two planes dipped, dived, and spun through the skies. But then suddenly another SE-5 appeared, this one flown by Lieutenant Harry Brokaw. This new arrival slipped in front of Sergeant Nassimer, close on Smith's tail, and Nassimer dropped out of the fight, worried he might collide with the other planes. Lieutenant Brokaw continued on, pursuing the Fokker higher and higher, until they were lost from sight in the clouds. Nassimer scanned the skies above for a glimpse of them. He wouldn't have to wait long. Down out of the mist, the machine was dropping backwards, its tail gone. After it plunged another, the SE-5. Lieutenant Smith's Fokker streaked past Nassimer like a bullet, Brokaw twirling by after him. He was fighting for control every foot of the way down, but with half of his wing missing, it was a losing battle. Brokaw's plane would try to right itself, and then flip in a never-narrowing spiral, faster and faster still until it slammed into the grass runway, not far from the smoldering heap that had been Smith's triplane. Moments later, a tangled mass of wreckage crashed down beside it. It was the tail of the Fokker and the wing of the SE-5, still locked together in a death grip. Nobody had seen the collision in the clouds, but it was obvious to those on the ground what had happened. Brokaw had been too close to Smith's plane, and traveling far too fast. He had no time to react if Smith made a sudden turn. Smith and Brokaw's shattered bodies were sent to the parlors of the Shelley Undertaking Company, and Harry's father received the following letter. February 11th, 1920. My dear Mr. Smith, it is with the greatest regret that I inform you that your son, Lieutenant Harry D. Smith, met his death in an airplane accident at Kelly Field, San Antonio, Texas, on February 10th, 1920. Your son's sacrifice was made in building up the air service of the United States Army, and while it was made here, it is not less helpful to our country than if it had been the result of a combat overseas. The toll paid in developing an air army is part of the price of victory, not more avoidable nor less effective than that paid over the lines of battle. Lieutenant Smith sought the front line of danger, and was one of those whose privilege it was to be selected for it. His name is inscribed on the Roll of Honor of the Air Service, and he has become one of the nation's heroes. I join with his brother officers in extending to you our deepest sympathy. Very sincerely, Charles T. Menaher, Major General, USA. The day after John Smith received this letter, another appeared in his mailbox. A letter from his son. In the letter, written the night before his tragic death, Harry informed his father that he would soon be in San Francisco to spend his 30-day furlough, which was to have started on February 12th. Lieutenant Harry D. Smith's body was escorted from Texas to San Francisco by Captain Louis Appleby of the 27th Air Corps, and he was laid to rest in the Presidio Cemetery in San Francisco, California.